Photography isn't just about snapping a picture. It's about capturing something much deeper, the emotions, the memories, the stories that people hold on to for years. And while those moments are invaluable to your clients, as a photographer, it's important to remember that your time, skill, and effort have value too. So, how do you put a price on something that feels priceless? Well, that's exactly what we intend to dive into today. I'm Alvin Turner, and today we're talking about one of the most important and sometimes challenging parts of running a photography business: pricing your services. Whether you're just starting out or you're already booking clients, figuring out what to charge can feel like a bit of a puzzle. You want to provide value to your clients, but you also need to make sure that you're valuing your time and expertise. In this video, we'll break down the fundamentals of how to price your photography services so you can feel confident about charging what you're worth. The cost of doing business is where it all starts. This is everything you spend just to keep your business running: your camera gear, software, insurance, website, transportation, etc. It's crucial to have a solid understanding of these expenses because they form the foundation of your pricing. If you're not at least covering your costs, you're losing money, and that's a fast way to burn out. So, this is why having a clear understanding of your expenses is so critical. Once you have that baseline, it's time to think about how you value your services beyond just breaking even. As photographers, we often struggle with finding that balance. There's a tendency to undervalue our services, thinking we need to charge less to attract clients, which can lead to financial strain. On the other hand, it's easy to overestimate your experience and charge too much before you've built the necessary portfolio and client base. The key is finding a middle ground where your pricing reflects both your value and experience without shortchanging yourself or pricing yourself out of your market. Make sure to list out all of your ongoing and one time expenses so that when you calculate your rates, you're not caught off guard by how much it really costs to operate. Remember, photography isn't just about pressing the shutter, it's a business. For example, if you've invested in a camera body that costs $1,500, two lenses totaling $1,000, an Adobe Lightroom subscription at $10 per month, and a website hosting plan at around $10 per month, your upfront and ongoing costs are $2,740. Now, if you're planning on shooting, let's say, 20 sessions in the next year, you need to divide those costs across those shoots. So 2,740 divided by 20 means you need to charge at least $137 per session just to cover the cost of your gear and software. This doesn't even include additional expenses like travel, insurance, or gear upgrades. This is why it's critical to know your numbers and avoid working at a loss, even if you feel pressure to keep prices low at the start. It's about finding a balance where you cover your expenses without undercutting yourself. Next is valuing your time. This goes beyond just the hours you spend shooting. Think about everything that leads up to and follows a session: client meetings, location scouting, prepping your gear, the actual shoot, post production, and delivering the final images. All of these steps take time, and your time is valuable. As photographers, there's often a tendency to feel guilty for charging for all the work that goes on behind the scenes, but your time matters just as much as your talent. On the other hand, it's equally important not to overestimate the value of your time when you're just starting out. Pricing yourself too high too soon can turn away potential clients. And a good way to think about it is to calculate how much time, on average, you spend on a project from start to finish. Then figure out what you need to charge per hour to make that time worth it, and this will give you a clearer picture of how much you need to earn in order to make it all worthwhile. So let's break this down. If you're spending 1 hour communicating with a client, an hour and a half traveling, 2 hours on the shoot itself, and 3 hours editing. That's a total of 7.5 hours per project. If you want to make, say, $50 an hour, that would mean charging about $375 just to cover your time. Add in the $137 we calculated earlier for your cost, and your base price should be around $512 for a session to make sure you're not only covering your expenses, but also valuing your time properly. If you're undercharging, you could find yourself working long hours for little payoff, which isn't sustainable in the long run. But at the same time, don't overcharge if your experience doesn't quite match the rate. You'll risk alienating clients before you've built a solid foundation. Finally, there's market research. You want to know where you stand in comparison to other photographers in your area. Look at what they're charging, especially those with a similar style, experience, and target audience. But here's the thing, you're not copying their prices. Market research is more about understanding the range in your area so you can find a reasonable starting point for your services. From there, you can adjust your rates based on your unique value. If you're just starting out, you might charge on the lower end, but as you build experience and a portfolio that stands out, you can gradually increase your rates. It's important not to undersell yourself just because someone else is cheaper. Focus on the value you provide and grow from there. For example, if photographers in your area charge anywhere between $200 to $1,000 for a portrait session and you're just starting, it might make sense to be in closer to, let's say, the $300 range. However, if you find that you're spending more time on shoots or offering something unique like premium editing or add ons like prints or albums, you can adjust your rates upwards to reflect that extra value. Keep in mind that just because someone is charging less doesn't mean you should follow suit. What matters is that you're delivering value that justifies your price and that will evolve as your business grows. Likewise, avoid the temptation to price yourself too high before you've established your reputation. The goal is to find a sweet spot where your clients see the value you provide and you feel confident that your pricing reflects both your skills and the quality of your work. When you're just starting to charge for your photography services, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But there are some simple techniques you can use to set up your pricing structure without overcomplicating things. Let's go through a few basic steps that can help you get started on the right foot. First, you'll want to figure out your base rate. This is the minimum price you need to charge just to cover your costs and the time you invest. You can start by calculating your cost of doing business, as we talked about earlier, and then add in the value of your time. So, if your total cost came out to around $137 per session and you're spending about 8 hours per project, you'll want to ensure you're charging enough to cover both your expenses and your time. For example, again, if you aim to make $50 per hour, your base rate should be around $512 for a session, as we calculated earlier. This gives you a solid foundation so that you know you're not losing money or undervaluing your time as a beginner. Next, consider offering pricing packages. This gives your clients flexibility and helps you avoid having to constantly negotiate or adjust your rates. A great way to structure this is by offering tiered packages, something like a basic, standard, and a premium package. For example, the basic package could include a 1 hour session with 10 edited images. The standard package could include a 2 hour session with 20 edited images and a couple of prints. And finally, a premium package could contain a half day session with unlimited images, premium editing, and a photo album or digital gallery. This way, clients can choose what best fits their needs, and you can charge more for higher value services without complicating your pricing structure. Packages also encourage clients to go for the middle or premium option, which increases your earnings while still keeping things clear and simple for everyone. And finally, a concept you'll want to introduce as you grow, especially if you're working with commercial clients, is licensing fees. Licensing gives clients the right to use your images for specific purposes like advertising, websites, or social media, and these fees can significantly increase the value of your work. For example, a business might need to pay additional fees to use your photos in an ad campaign or on multiple platforms. Licensing agreements typically cover details such as how long the image can be used, where it will appear, and whether the client has exclusive rights. The more extensive the usage, the higher the licensing fee. This is very different from personal use photography like family portraits or weddings, where the images are for private use and only usually involve licensing fees. While you don't need to dive too deep into this when you're starting out, it's a good idea to keep it in mind as you work with more clients in the commercial space, as usage fees often represent a large portion of a photographer's earnings in that area. Once you've built up some experience and have a solid client base, it's time to start thinking about advanced pricing strategies. These strategies go beyond just charging for your time. They allow you to elevate your earnings and reflect the true value you bring to your clients. Let's dive into a few methods that can help experienced photographers take their pricing to the next level. First, let's talk about value based pricing. Unlike time based pricing, where you charge for the hours spent on a shoot, value based pricing focuses on what the final product is worth to the client. For example, a commercial client might be willing to pay more for an image that will feature prominently in their advertising campaign because the value it brings to their business is significant. In this case, you're not just charging for your time, you're pricing your work based on the impact it has for the client. This strategy requires a strong understanding of the client's needs and the potential reach of the photos you're delivering. It's about positioning yourself as a key part of the client's success, which justifies a higher price tag. Another great way to boost your earnings is through add ons. Offering additional products like prints, albums, and wall art can significantly increase the value of each session. For example, after a wedding shoot, you might offer your clients a professionally designed photo album or framed prints for their home. These extras not only add to your income, but they also enhance the client's overall experience with your work. The beauty of add-on is that they are flexible and you can offer them as part of a premium package or as optional upgrades that clients can choose after the shoot. By diversifying what you offer, you open up more ways to earn from each project without drastically increasing your workload. Finally, specialty pricing. As you gain more experience, you may find yourself gravitating toward a specific style or type of photography, whether it's weddings, portraits, commercial work, or something more specialized like product or architectural photography. Your pricing should reflect this specialization. For instance, wedding photography often commands higher prices due to the intense preparation, long hours, and post production work involved. On the other hand, product photography may involve a completely different pricing model, especially if you're working with a larger commercial client who needs highly polished, detail oriented images for marketing purposes. The more specialized your skill set, the more you can justify charging higher rates because clients will seek you out for your unique expertise. Now that we've covered how to set your pricing, let's talk about some common mistakes photographers make when pricing their services. These pitfalls can seriously undermine your business if you're not careful, so it's important to know what to avoid as you build your photography career. The first big mistake is undervaluing your work. It's something many photographers struggle with, especially in the beginning. Charging too little might seem like a way to attract more clients, but it can actually hurt you in the long run. Undervaluing your work not only impacts your bottom line, but it can also create a perception that your services are lower quality. Clients might begin to expect cheap rates and won't take your work as seriously. Plus, you end up working long hours without seeing much of a return, which can lead to burnout. Always remember, pricing should reflect the quality of your work and the value you bring, not just what you think clients want to pay. Another common mistake is not raising your prices as you gain experience. As you improve your skills, build your portfolio, and grow your client base, it's essential to adjust your rates accordingly. If you're consistently booked, it's a sign that your services are in demand and you should consider raising your prices to match that level of expertise. Don't be afraid to increase your rates over time. Your work becomes more valuable as you become more experienced. A good rule of thumb is to review your pricing annually and make adjustments based on your growth and any new skills that you've acquired. Stagnating prices can lead to stagnating business. Finally, one mistake that can lead to serious issues down the road is skipping contracts. It might feel like extra paperwork, especially when working with clients you trust, but contracts are vital to protecting both you and your clients. A solid contract sets clear expectations on pricing, deliverables, deadlines, and usage rights, which helps avoid misunderstandings or disputes later on. Even for smaller jobs, a simple agreement outlining the terms of your project can save you a lot of headaches. Plus, it reinforces your professionalism and ensures that both parties are on the same page from the start. So, we've covered a lot today, everything from understanding your costs to creating structured pricing packages and even avoiding common mistakes like undervaluing your work or skipping contracts. The key takeaway here is that your pricing should reflect the value you bring, your experience, and the time and effort you put into every project. By calculating your base rate, offering tiered packages, and considering licensing fees for commercial work, you can create a pricing structure that not only covers your expenses, but also helps you grow your business. Remember, your pricing will evolve as you gain more experience, and that's completely normal. It's okay to adjust your rates over time as your skills improve and your demand increases. Don't be afraid to review your pricing regularly, raise your rates when needed, and always ensure that your work is valued for the impact it has. Pricing is part of your journey as a photographer and it will change as you develop your career. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Would love to hear about your own experiences with pricing, so drop a comment below. What challenges have you faced? How did you get through those? Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tips on building your photography business and improving your skills. I've got lots more content coming your way, so hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you don't miss a thing. As always, I appreciate you watching and happy shooting.